Steven Universe is a show that needs no introduction these days. Everyone in the animation community knows it or knows of it, and that's because of the massive fan base it still has years after the show concluded. And while I love the show now, there was a time where I didn't even want to watch it. Not because I didn't like it, but because growing up, none of the boys my age did. And girls liked it, so I just assumed it was not made for guys. But then one day I happened to catch an episode on Cartoon Network, and all of that changed. I instantly fell in love with it. Not because of the cool powers, amazing characters, or the fantastic music, even though they're all great in their own right, but because of Steven himself. I instantly latched onto Steven for a few reasons, but there was one that was the main point. Steven looked like me. Growing up, and even now, I've always been chubby. And every other show had the main character be either a beefcake or a spaghetti noodle. The fat kid was always some random side character or used as comedy relief because being fat is funny. But Steven Universe was the first time I saw someone who looked like me be the main character, and that made me really happy. Because being able to see yourself in a character is quite important, and for a lot of chubby kids out there, there never really was anyone for us until Steven Universe. And while I'm sure that's a big reason a lot of people latched onto the show, there's also something else. Something that's a lot more meaningful to me personally. The way that Steven was raised really stuck with me, because of how similar it was to my own upbringing. You see, growing up, I was surrounded by women. My mom, my grandma, my sisters, my aunt, my two cousins, everyone was a girl, and I was the only boy. So growing up, I was not sure how to act. Because society has a lot of different views on what a young boy is supposed to be, but I never really fit into any of those categories. I never really liked sports, or cars, or fishing, or any other stereotypical guy things. So when kids my age would talk about stuff like that, I would always feel kinda left out. Not because I had nobody to do it with, but because it never really interested me. And because of that, I always felt I was never truly going to fit in because of how different I was to other boys my age. But then when I started watching Steven Universe and saw Steven, a kid who was very much like me, I fell in love with the show because it was the first time I could relate to something so heavily. Steven is a chubby little kid who was raised by mainly women. He did not like stereotypical guy things, yet he was happy with his life. That just showed me that I didn't need to change who I was to be happy. And honestly, that made me look at life a lot differently, and even with all the ups and downs of life, I can say I am truly happy with the person I am today. And that goes into my next point, because Steven Universe not only got me to accept myself, but also got me to rethink how I saw others. Steven Universe opened my eye to the LGBTQ community. I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I was very close-minded. Growing up in South Africa, where a lot of people still struggle to accept others for who they are, being gay was often seen as something wrong. And as a kid, I absorbed a lot of that without even realizing it. So I made fun of other kids in my school for being gay. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's something I did. However, Steven Universe played a huge role in changing that for me. It changed the way I understood love and relationships, and helped me see how wrong I was to judge someone for simply being who they are. And honestly, looking back, I can say those kids were a lot stronger than me for being open in such a closed-minded place. I was just following the crowd, but they stood firm and never wavered in who they were, and that takes guts. And that ties into something that Steven Universe does better than almost any other cartoon I've seen. One of the things that Steven Universe completely redefined for me was what strength actually looks like. Because in most cartoons or shows or movies, strength is usually shown as being tough or stoic, being able to beat the bad guy into submission. You don't cry, you don't hesitate, and you don't talk about your feelings. And growing up, I felt like I was doing something wrong because I was never really that kind of strong. I wasn't aggressive, I wasn't competitive, and I didn't want to be. But neither was Steven. In fact, he was the opposite. He cries, he gets scared, he doubts himself. And instead of fighting first, he tries to understand what the other person is feeling. And the show never treats that as a weakness. Growing up, I always felt like I was doing something wrong because I wasn't the kind of strong that media portrayed. But Steven showed me that being kind, empathetic, and emotionally open is a form of strength. And in a lot of cases, it's the hardest kind. And seeing that kind of strength in Steven made me feel that maybe I didn't need to fit into the usual idea of being strong either. Look, Steven Universe isn't perfect, not by a long shot. It has its fair share of problems, but like Greg told Steven, if all pork chops were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. It taught me that I did not need to be perfect to be something amazing. and neither does the show. It helped me in ways that my tiny brain could not even realize back in the day. The show itself kinda did the exact thing that Steven does for other people in the show. It didn't fight me, it didn't force me to be someone I wasn't, it understood me, met me where I was, and helped me, even when I didn't realize I needed that help. And that's kind of beautiful? I didn't always understand what the show was teaching me. I'd laugh at the jokes, enjoy the songs, but looking back, I can see how it quietly shaped the way I think about kindness, empathy, and what it means to be strong. So yeah, the show has its flaws, but for me, it was more than just a cartoon. It was a guide, a reminder that you can be yourself, you can care deeply, and you can still be strong. And for that, I'll always be grateful to Steven Universe. But yeah, thank you guys a lot for listening to my rant about how much Steven Universe means to me. I know there's probably some other people out there who looked at the show and got nothing I did, or there's people out there who looked at it and got even more out of it than I did. And that's just amazing. I absolutely love Steven Universe, even with all the flaws, and I just am happy I had it in my life growing up. But yeah, thank you guys a lot for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.